Hello, everybody. Welcome back to video 11 in this series. And I think I should probably stop saying what it is every time. This is the 11th video in the series, so you may want to go back and watch the earlier ones to see what's going on. But if you've been following along, you were almost finished with our character, ready to start doing things in the game. And you've noticed that it's taken uh, quite a bit of time, which is the one thing about game development that a lot of people don't realize first starting out, is it is very time consuming. It is incredibly time consuming. Oh, I can see my collision shapes in the wrong spot, so I'm going to move that forward. Little adjustments over time. There's lots of little pieces, kind of like this tree we're putting together for our character here. There's lots of pieces that go together and they all interact with each other. So you want to take your time and be careful and do it right the first time. Otherwise, if there's a bad interaction in there somewhere, it could cascade through. And this is just a small sample of what a game is like. We have lots and lots and lots of these complex interactions going together. So it's a uh, slow process. You want to take your time and try to get it right the first time, but it takes practice, some trial and error. Don't worry about mistakes. Uh, we don't learn anything from the stuff we get right. That's one of my favorite sayings. I know this stuff because of all the times I've done it wrong and had to go back and fix it. That's where we really learn stuff. So I'm going through here with the things I figured out and do some trial and error, change up what I'm showing in the video, try some different things, see what it works, see what doesn't work. That's how we really learn the process of game development. So we've got our logical unit, our graphical unit, the physical interactive unit, and the camera so that we can see it. So lots of different aspects there that all build together to make uh, parts of what we would call the game engine. The logic, the graphics, the physics, and the rendering. Um, and graphics is just pure data. That's just a bunch of numbers representing all those vertices and edges and faces in space. So pure data. And then the camera is our rendering pipeline. So lots of different pieces go together to make a game engine. And we're going to talk about all of them in this video series. Before we finish up the character, we have some animations here. So we want to be able to see those animations. So up here in the logical unit, so that we'll have control over it, I'm going to right click and add a child. And I want to add an animation tree. There's different ways we can do it, and this is one that'll be it's fairly standard for most of our game engines. We have different types. One of the easiest ones to work with is um, what's called an animation state machine. You'll have it in all of our major game engines. So the animation tree here in our hierarchy, if we select that and go over to the inspector, you'll notice there's no tree root um, or animation. So for the root of the tree, you click that where it says empty and create a new animation node state machine. This gives us a nice way to control our animations. And the next one down, it says assign. So the animation player, this is the actual thing that plays the animations, the branches on that tree root. So if we assign that the animation player that imported with our model from Blender, now we're ready to do things with our state machine. So you'll notice there's a start and an end, which there's no ambiguity to those words. So whenever the game starts, this is going to, we'll be in this state, and then we need to move to another state. So if we right click, the next state we want to be in is probably the idle state. And then notice our tools here, we have a selector. Then that is the add button. I usually do the right click. And then we have this connection boat or the transitions. So when we start, I'm going to left click on start and drag over to idle with the transition one selected. So from the start state, we will transition into the idle state. And we should be able to hit play and get a preview of that. Oh, whoops. I have to go back to Selection Tool, hit play. Oh, I'm still on transition. Go back to the Selection Tool and hit the little play button. And we should be able to see the animation. Is it not playing? Oh, it's inactive. So select the animation tree, and over here you'll see a checkbox for active. If we turn that on, then we'll be able to see our animation. Why is it not looping? If I come into the idle animation, can't change loop mode in another scene. Why is it not? I thought I set that on the import. I'm going to go into character, and on the import, on the idle animation, set the loop mode to linear, the walk mode, loop to linear, walk animation. Oh, and then click the re-import button. There we go. So now the loops are on. So in the animation tree, we can see that running. And after some point, probably when our character starts moving, we'll want to transition to the walk animation. And preview that here. We'll see the walk. And then we'll just create a transition from idle. So left click, drag that over. And then at some point, we'll stop walking and want to be able to transition back to that one. And notice how it's trying to play both of them at once, because we don't have any logic saying which animation to play, when to go to which one. So it's just trying to do everything. So if we go to the selection tool and select one of these, we want to set a parameter for when we change there. So I'm going to click this advanced option over in the inspector tab. And you'll notice there's a condition. So we'll just create a Boolean here. So I'll make one called is walking. And we'll be able to control that from our code so that when is walking switches to true in our script, we'll switch to the walking animation. And with just two, we could go back and forth. But for clarity's sake in this example, I'm going to go ahead and make a different Boolean here. We could just set those to true and false so that if it's is walking is false, we go to idle. If is walking is true, we go to walking. But I'm going to make two of them. I'll say is idle, just for clarity. And then we have control over which animation is going to show at any given time. And if we go run the game, it's going to follow what that tree does. So we go from the start state into the idle animation, and we don't have any way to switch to the walking animation yet, but we will get there before long. And that gets us our character. So lots of different parts. You'll see it kind of takes every part of a game engine. So it has the logics, the data, which graphical data in this case, but before long in the script, we'll probably have some stats for the player, health, and other data about it. So logic and data, the physical interaction layer, where the laws of physics will apply. We have this extra one, which is just for an offset on the camera. Because if we told the camera to made it a child of the player, notice the origin is down here by the feet, so the camera would always be trying to look at the player's feet. So we just made this extra node to give a spot for the camera to look at, a better spot for the camera to look at. Then put the camera on here, so there's our rendering pipeline. And then we have our animation control. So lots and lots of pieces of a game engine come together. Lots of complex things. You'll notice from the number of videos it's taken so far just to get all this stuff together that there's a lot of different pieces involved. But now we're ready to bring these together into a scene. So I'm going to create a new, hit the plus sign, make a new scene. It's going to be a 3D scene. And we'll need a few things in this scene. In particular, we want our landscape. So I'll drag hills up here and make that a child of the scene. We zoom way out, we can see all that. And we probably want our player in there, so I'll bring that in, which again is at the origin. So I'll make sure snap is turned off. And give the players some sort of starting position here, maybe in the middle of one of these hills. And this Godot does use the same controls as Unity, so scroll wheel to go in and out, click to rotate, hold shift and middle click the wheel, scroll wheel to get panning. It looks like the character's way above the scene there. I'll start him off way up here at the top of this hill. And I'm having trouble zooming in on the character, so a nice little trick that actually works in all of our engines is select the object you want to work with, put your mouse cursor the over the viewport and push F for focus, and then you can zoom right in on the character. Oh, it looks like snap's on, so turn snap off and bring him down till he's right about ground level. Okay, I was way above the ground. Somewhere down here. And gravity will apply, so I like to start characters just a little bit above the ground, and that way in the first frame or so of the game, they fall down on the ground. So save this, and this will be level 1. Level_1. Sounds like a good name, but probably want to save that in the scenes folder. Oh, I don't have a scenes folder yet, so create a new folder, call scenes, or Godot uses the name scene a lot, so I'm going to call it levels. So levels. Oh, is there a level? Oh, there's a levels folder. Okay, so save that in the levels folder. And now if we hit the run this scene button, the camera comes in with our player, so we should be able to see our character in the scene. We don't have any light yet. Notice there's a default light and sky and some environment stuff here. We can bring that in Godot, but I'm going to actually make those things in upcoming videos, so we'll do that soon. But before we wrap up this video, I'm going to come back over to the player one, because we have our logical unit, but we don't have any logic for it yet. You'll see this little button here. This is attach a new script, or right click, and that's one of our options down here, attach a script. And since this was specifically a character body, if we had attached a script, notice it comes in with this template of basic movement. So I'm going to create this, and I'll save this in the scripts folder. Oh, no scripts folder. That's what I looked at a moment ago. I noticed there was only 4 folders, but I was expecting 5. So I'm going to create the scripts folder, save this as the player.gd. That's the Godot scripting language, which is based on Python, really easy to use. Go ahead and create. And you'll notice there's a bunch of stuff already there for it. It's got a speed, and a jump velocity. And we come down here and we see these words. We're going to talk about inputs very soon and probably change some of these things. Instead of UI accept, which happens to be the space bar, we'll switch that to just a jump input that we can map to any controller we have. Same thing here, UI left, right, up, and down. That's our arrows. We probably want to change that to forward, backwards. I like turn left and turn right, and then we just change the angle and we have forward and backwards. But we will see that in an upcoming video and do our WSD keys. But for now, this is the arrows. And you'll notice there's already some stuff about direction and velocity. So movement is built into this script. So I'm going to save that. And if you've used Python before, hopefully this looks familiar. We'll talk about scripting in an upcoming video, but if I come back to level 1 now with that script there, switch back to the 3D view and run this, the arrows are already doing things. So forward, left, right. We don't have any lights, so we can't really see things very well. We can't really turn. All we can do is move in a forward, backward direction, and we don't have any lights, so there's no shadows or anything to see. That's coming in an upcoming video. But you can see it's already moving with just that default version. And we will override that soon, talk about the logic of what everything's happening, and hopefully by the end of these videos, this video series, all this stuff's going to make sense so that you will be able to come in and do trial and error and make some adjustments and go through the whole learning process and get something nice going with it soon. But that's for the next video. We will improve the logic. Or I guess the first thing we should probably do is add a light. Next thing we'll do in the next video, we'll add a light so that we can see what we're doing. So I'll see you in the next video.